know the quarterback. The very first thing, I didn't talk about scheme. I didn't talk about the team. I didn't know the quarterback, right? Because if we accomplish those things we talked about as far as stopping the run, we need to know who the quarterback is. If you want to get off the field, right? Can he run? And these are simple questions. Can he run? It's a yes or no, right? And then I'll go into how I'm able to do that, right? Because I do something called QB windows, right? Which tells us who the quarterback is and what he likes to do. But you need to understand if he can run. Can he throw? Right? If he's a mobile quarterback, can he also hurt you with his arm? That's a deadly combo right there that no defense wants to see. A kid that can run and a kid that can throw the ball, right? So understanding those two things. But if he can't run and he can throw the ball, well, now that tells you something about him. If he can run and he can't throw the ball, that also tells you something about him. We just like to see who he is, right? And then the last one is, who is he under pressure / out of the pocket? I'm speaking as if we're getting the team in a situation to where they have to throw the ball. In my opinion, that is the winning formula. Stop a team on first and second down and put them in a situation to where they have to throw the ball. Now, me as a defensive line coach, I don't need to know every route that's made. I don't need to know every hitch. I don't need to know all my fades, right? I'm the defensive line coach. If I know who the quarterback is and I know whether he can run or throw, and I know who he is under pressure, right? Knowing the quarterback, I have the formula with how to stop him. It's just executing the plan. And when I bring this to the defensive coordinator, I take it as a sense to give him the full picture. This guy can do this. He can run, right? Which means we probably want to keep him in the pocket. We don't want to give him a seam to run. If he pulls the ball down and he has a seam, he can hurt us with his feet. So I'm not going to be as aggressive on games this week, right? Or this guy can't run, right? He has to stay in the pocket, but he has a really good arm. He makes smart decisions. He can find his cover. He goes from read 1, 2, 3, 4 all the way across the field, but he can't escape. Well, now I can get into a point to where, okay, coach, now I want to isolate and run these games. I won't have to worry about this guy running as much. And even in the situation, if he does, he's not mobile enough to hurt us, and we can have a guy that's there for him to make the play. But I do believe, because this offensive lineman is this, I want to draw up this scheme to go against him, to isolate him, to put one-on-one with our best pass rusher. Right. So I came up with all of that simply based off of who the quarterback is. Right. And the next one, when will they throw the ball? Right. And I didn't say the quarterback. When will they? Now we need to know who that team is. Based off of who the quarterback is, now you'll know when they will throw the ball. And then I have a couple of things I'm going to show you guys as far as what I mean by that. But I want to force them to get into a situation by the numbers where they're passing the ball. And to be honest, 75 is probably a little bit lower, but 75% and above. You feel good about what you want to call if a team is showing that they'll pass the ball 75% and above. Right. And every team, every organization may be a little bit different with that number. At the end of the day, you want to feel good about what you're calling based off of what you think that they will do. It's a chess match. Right? It's a chess match, but a team will be who they are based on the scenario, right? That's why you're getting that 3rd and 6, 3rd and 5 area. Well, maybe a team won't throw the ball and they actually feel comfortable with running the ball, which now that 3rd and 5, the 6 area, you're not really thinking as much as pass, which means you have to change up your calls, right? So I just think it's important when it's important for you to know when a team will throw the ball on 3rd down. Right. And then that's how you organize your playlist. And you can see in these scenarios, they were 75% and above with throwing the ball. Right. The next one, the type of passes. Now, when I say the type of passes, what I mean is however you break your film down and however you organize what the quarterback does, I think it's important to know. Example. So we break it down with 5-step, 3-step, and screen. 5-step, 3-step, and screen. Yeah, you got play action and other special scenarios, but when it comes to 3rd down, the team is probably not going to be play action team on 3rd down. Not saying they can't, but as far as percentages, if you do the studying, there's not a high percentage of that going on. It comes down to 5-step, which naturally comes if they need a longer route. 3-step, if it's a little bit shorter and they want to give that receiver a chance to catch the ball and get the first down with his legs. And then if you're aggressive, or if they think you're going to pressure, if they think you're going to blitz, or your D line is aggressive up the field, now we're coming into the screenplay. And now, even as I'm talking, And again, I wasn't thinking on the run, but you also need to add the draw in there as well, right? And then, but that goes back, well, can the quarterback run? And if it's yes, well, now you need to be thinking, okay, can he run the draw? The next one is know the O-line, right? So we know the quarterback, we know when they'll throw the ball, we know what type of passes they'll throw. Now that we know all of that, as a D-line coach, know the O-line, right? And I have Sack City there because what I do is I highlight each one of their offensive linemen, anybody that plays ever. And what I do is I pick clips to where they have been susceptible to be beat. And what this does for me is it tells me who each player is. And then by me evaluating each play, each tape, all of the games, I have a Rolodex of, okay, number 55, the left guard, here's 7 plays where he was able to get beat, right? And out of those 7 plays, an up and under was done 4 times. Well, now we know what his weakness is, which leads me to my next point. Find the weak link and attack. Again, it's a simple concept, but don't overlook finding the weak link. I know a lot of offensive line coaches that stress and that sweat. If one of their guys up front isn't up to par to where they want them to be, they're sweating. As an offensive coordinator, you talk to your offensive line coach and you talk about the O-line. What do we need to avoid calling? Where do we need to take the quarterback to give him the best chance? All right, this left tackle really isn't getting it done, so do we need to roll out of the pocket to give him some more space? A team tells you who they are based off of their film and based off of their personnel. Don't be afraid to find the weak link up front on the offensive line and the tackle. I don't care if you put a linebacker on. At the end of the day, again, the goal is to get off the field. Some people may fear, right, getting in those situations to where they put a kid to where he isn't. But if you practice it and you know what you're trying to accomplish as far as the goal, that's when you're able to execute at a high level. Pass pro schemes, half line slide, full slide, man to man. Do they change what they do based off of how you line up? Will they pass pro with just 5? Are they a team that wants to help out with the running back in the backfield to chip? Do they like to free release and only leave 5 guys in there? Do they like to block with the tight end? Right? These are all things when you look at the pass pro schemes, you want to know again. So then you get to your 5-step type of passes. More than likely, teams are who they are in 5-step. They'll usually half line slide. Teams, if they see a bear front, 5 for 5, they'll usually have a check where the center is man for man, right? So you just have to do a great job studying the film. And even as I'm saying this, if I have O-line guys here or offense, all right, well, we're going to try to do this in order to change it up so they won't know. Good luck. Good luck. Because as you know, right, there's 11 guys on the field at one time, and you got to make sure all 11 guys are on the same page. And we all know if we throw something in different or if we change up, some guys can't handle that. And where it may sound great, yeah, I'm going to change it up so that they don't understand. At the end of the day, when it's not being successful, you go back to what is successful and what you know. You have to understand that calling it and understand there is a flow of the game. You may get some new stuff early on, end of second quarter, third, fourth quarter. A team will be who they are unless they're really good at just saying, listen, we're going to change this up every quarter. I don't know if I found a team that actually does that, right? But you have to understand that. And do they struggle with games? Do the offensive line struggle with games? Some O-lines are really good at communicating, really good at passing off. And, games isn't something that they struggle with. Now, there could be a weak link in picking up games. If the O-line is really good, but that right guard is really, he really can't get the hold of passing it off and picking up the looper, hey, maybe we keep it constant on one side and just run a game to that side, right? I'm all about the opportunity. If you show me something as an offense that I can attack, right, and I'm going to do it. It's really that simple. And I think we outsmart ourselves sometimes because we avoid actually going with our gut and being confident. Now, it has to be communicated and accepted from top to bottom, from head coach to DC, right? I work with Coach Dowse. He's the other D-line coach. He and I talk a lot. And I think it's one of the benefits that we have 2 guys here is because we're able to bounce ideas off of each other. And then we come to a mutual consensus, right? And then the next thing we talk about is, can we get there with 4? Now, this may be different for a lot of guys. My philosophy, our philosophy, all right, because I didn't invent anything. Our philosophy is I love to only use 4. I challenge myself as a defensive line coach. Can I get there with 4 guys? And I didn't say 4 D linemen, right? Because a lot of times, sometimes you have linebackers that are just really skillful at rushing the passer. And then you get into, some guys, well, I don't want to put a guy in to just rush the passer. If he has to be in on a rundown, what will it look like? In my opinion, right? And college is not the NFL, but the NFL does it. But we have it in college, right? There's something called subbing. If the offense subs, the defense can sub too. And it would be very hard for me to have a freak on the sideline as far as somebody that can go get the passer, to not put him in because he isn't great at run defense. But he has the most twitch, the most bend, the most power, the most punch, the greatest technique, some stuff that you can't even coach that's just natural, and he can get to the quarterback. I'll always put it on the table. Hey, coach, look, I understand what you're saying, but I can put him in a position to be successful. Am I saying he's going to be successful every single time? No. But I did witness 2 of the greats I actually saw. I don't know if he's still on here. I saw Royce get on here. He was a linebacker for us. And, he put in a lot of work being at the linebacker because we went to some 3 to 4 man stuff. We wanted to be able to transition. And he was one of those guys that could walk up on the edge of the ball. So he put himself in a situation to earn some time on the field as a linebacker. And even where he technically wasn't the best as far as putting his hands the right place, his feet always being perfect, what he was able to do was to play at a high effort. He was smart and understood defense, and he was smart and understood people. So he worked himself into being in a position to where he was able to earn some time on the field. So just understanding that, can we get there with 4, get the best 4? And I really think the more that's in coverage, the better. If I can tell my DC, hey, look, we can win with this O-line. They protect with 5. Sometimes they'll chip. All I need is 4. Hey, can you give me a 5th one just as a guy? He can be in coverage, but can I play around with where he is? Right? So just understanding that if you can give the defense more guys that's in coverage, depending on the down and distance, the better, right? And then if you can establish and get really good at pass rush games, that's something that really can take you a long way depending on your personnel. And then the last one that I talk about is understanding situational football. Understanding situational football, because a third and down at one end of a third and whatever at one end of the field is going to be different than that same down and distance at another end of the field, right? A play that's called at the end of the half, regardless of the down and distance, is going to be different than a play that's called in the first quarter and it's the first play of the drive, right? So situational football is key. Where they are on the field is key. Is it the end of the half, end of the game? That's key. Location on the field. You have to take all of this into account. And a lot of this is done before you even get to that first practice for the team you're playing, right? Situational. So what we really need to get good at is understanding the amount of work we need to put in before we actually get to the field, right? And what that will look like once we actually get there. So here is how we know who the quarterback is. I just gave you an example of what I do for QB windows, and I'll explain this. The windows, right, are declared where the quarterback throws the ball and when he runs, where he runs the ball. Meaning, as we're looking at it, because we always look at it from a defensive point of view, quadrant 1 is from that left tackle as we're looking at it. Anything that's from that left tackle and out is considered window 1. Okay, so in window 1, he was 34 for 49 for 111 yards. He was sacked once from that window, and he fumbled the ball once from that window, right? So window 2 is from the left tackle to the center. So right in that quadrant right there, right? He was 12 for 26, 129 yards. He scrambled 3 times for 20 yards. He was sacked 3 times, and he threw 1 interception. Quadrant 3, right, from the center into the right tackle as we're looking at it, 22 for 56, 453 yards, 4 sacks, 1 fumble, 1 interception. And then window 4, 21 of 32 for 282 yards, 1 scramble for 1 yard, and 1 sack. So everything that I've accomplished by doing this, right, is I understand who this quarterback is. So again, I believe the first thing I ask is, can he run? So what I do, the reason why I put scrambles is because I want to know who he is. So I'm not sure how many games we had, right? But it's 3, 4 times he scrambled as we're looking at it, right? 4 times we scrambled. And if you add up all of those attempts, you'll figure out the number. We got 4 scrambles in, I don't know, that's 100, over 160 clips, right? So in my opinion, this guy isn't a runner. And then when he did run outside, he gained a yard, and then inside 3 scrambles for a total of 20 yards. Okay, so it's not like he's 40-yard, 50-yard runs. It's not like he's pulling the ball down and scrambling. What this tells me is he likes to throw the ball, right? He likes to throw the ball, and specifically, he likes to throw the ball outside. Now, what I'm assuming is this is a right-handed quarterback, which means because he's a right-handed quarterback, he throws to his window 1 more times than none. Because as you're looking at it, if he sets and catch the ball to throw, right, he's naturally facing where he needs to throw. So whether his progression starts where it starts, majority of his targets, right, majority of his targets are that way. Now in window 3, he had more attempts of 56, but his yardage and what he was able to accomplish there wasn't as great. So even as a quarterback coach, you would think these are some of the things that you're talking to your quarterback about, where he's been successful, where he hasn't been. And depending on where you are in the season, you want to make sure that you're doing a great job highlighting what your quarterback can do. I understand that. And if you want to play with what he can't do, I'm good with that as well, right? Because now we're gambling with you forcing him to do something he's not really great at instead of focusing on what he really is good at, right? And then leading with that. So that tells me where he's really good at. I give this to the DB coach and the linebacker coach just so they can understand, who this guy is, where he likes to throw. We know where he throws his interceptions, which is usually down the seam in window 2 and 3, right? He's usually sacked inside, right? We have 7 sacks in between the tackles. So something would tell me something. We should attack something inside of there. And then once I actually do the studying of who the offensive line is, it becomes more relevant. I would think there's a weak link inside and not a lot of pressure from outside. So what I'm thinking just from this is that, okay, we need to get the quarterback to step up in the pocket. He's not really going to roll out to scramble outside, right? And if we keep him inside of the pocket and make him throw inside, which is where the less of his completions are for the few amount of yards, that will be a successful formula against this guy. Okay, so that's how I come down to understanding who this quarterback is. All right, the next thing, 3rd down planning. So what I did here is I wanted to take you guys through some of what I did to get ready for a team. Okay, and we all do it differently, but whatever you're using, get to the team you're playing and looking at their 3rd downs. Now, what this shows here is this team at this point in the season, right? They had 43 3rd down calls, 3rd and 6 and above. So what I did is I said, okay, I had already did the work to say, 3rd and 5 below, it gets to somewhat 50-50, more leaning on the run with who this team is. So I would go and say, all right, coach, when you get this team at 3rd and 6 plus, they're 86% pass. So who we are as a defense, we're expecting this team to throw the ball 86% of the time on 3rd and 6 plus. Now, are there special situations? Yeah. Well, coach, they ran the ball, 6 times. That's 14%. I also think, and I'll show you on the next slide, it's important to know what those runs are. So again, on this screen, you can see a lot of information depending on how you tag. In my opinion, sometimes the more, the better, because you can really get down and fine tune to what you're actually looking at. The play type obviously is important. Protection, it's good for you to label the protection. Backfield sweat, type of play, all of those things come into, and to make sure it's all consistent and constant, you want to make sure you do a great job with labeling that, just so you know what that looks like. Now on to the next screen. So we did the 3rd and 6 plus at 86%. Now what we come over and do is, okay, with these plays, right, with those 42 total plays, what type of play are they doing? Right now it's 58% 5-step, which means in 3rd and 6 plus, 58% of the time, close to 60, right, they do 5-step, right? And then when I go down and see, okay, outside zone, I'm taking that out. That's 9%. Play action pass, I'm taking that out. The swing and tunnels, I will honor, right? 2 of those, I'll go look at that. The power, I'm taking out. Outside zone. So all of those runs, I'm taking out of there, and I'll show you why. And then after you understand the type of play, right, you then go to the protection, right? So now they're 45% or so half slide, and then 11 and then 30% man. So somewhere around 73% of the time, they're doing a protection with 5 guys. It doesn't mean the running back is out of it. Again, we just want to know who they are up front and how we call things. So just like I talked about, okay, coach, now what I do is I click on the runs. I click on the runs just so I can see. So what I got from here is there's 6 runs, right? 6 runs. You got a 3rd and 6, and then the rest were 3rd and 10 plus, right? So the next thing I look at is, okay, the success rate. So on a 3rd and 10, they ran the ball and they gained 1 yard. On 3rd and 18, they ran the ball and gained 16 yards. On 3rd and 6, they ran the ball, gained 5, 19, gained 9, 10, gained 9, 10, gained 6. So what I would say is, coach, they ran the ball, right, on 3rd and 6 plus 6 times, but they were not successful. They were successful 0% of the time. Also, coach, the 3rd and 18 was at the end of the game. That 3rd and whatever was halftime. The 3rd and 19 allowed them to do this, right? And then I'll look and say, okay, coach, well, I'll give you one step further. 4 of those 6 were outside zone, and they were in pistol, right? And they were in pistol. So now if they're in pistol and double or trips, which is open formation, right? 3x2, 2x2, 3x1, and they just have a running back and it's a situation, they could run outside zone. That is a play that they like to run. So what I would do is understand scenario-wise, if it's in one of those critical situations, I probably don't want to go all out and create all these seams for the running back to get through. But it won't be something on my mind that I'm like, oh, I'm shying away from calling this because they'll run the ball. Based on the numbers, that's not who they are. And when you're calling a defense, I think that's important to focus on and look at. So understanding those differences, you can understand what you're looking for as far as when you're going to evaluate and what they put on film.